Hey all, I know I promised a video about what works, so here it is. This is how we're getting about 50 new listeners and 100 new streams per week on Spotify. So I'm sure you've heard variations on this strategy before, but this is how we made it work for us. So what you do is you create the Spotify playlist, right? And this is the one that we created, West Coast Alt Americana. Now, it's not a uninvited playlist, okay? We keep the title of the playlist more marketable, right? Something that could appeal to a broader scope of people who listen to the type of music that you create. Right? So we're kind of big into this alt Americana sound, alt country. We're on the West Coast. We've been on the West Coast all of our career. So it's a West Coast alt Americana playlist. It features a bunch of bands that sound like us and are also from the West Coast. We loaded up this playlist with 8 of our songs that we feel best represent us in the genre, and then another 17, 18 songs from other artists who sound the same way. So we then went to Spotify advertising and we created a Spotify ad that is based on the playlist bands that are on our playlist, right? So this appeals and is aimed at the fan bases of the bands that are on this list, okay? So far, this is our bid cap. This is the amount of clicks we're getting. Okay, so one of the things is that this ad is starting to peter out. We're not getting the clicks that we want, but I'm showing you this for another reason, okay? Here's the number of listeners that we've gotten from as a result of this ad, a conversion rate of about 1.17%, which, you can see here it was rolling along much better than it has been recently. It's dying. I get it. The content is not as relevant as it was a couple of months ago, so we're going to change the content, but I'm showing you this for another reason. The reason is because we wanted to market to people who were already on the platform, right? We created a Spotify playlist, so why not use Spotify ads to target Spotify listeners to go to that Spotify playlist, right? And what we were seeing in our efforts was really a very direct one-to-one correlation between the number of people who were called listeners in our Spotify ad metrics and people who actually listened to the playlist. So we also decided to advertise on Meta for this. Now, I've done videos before about how difficult it is to get cross-platform marketing, right? To take people who are on Instagram or Facebook and get them to convert over to Spotify to listen to your playlist, okay? Facebook doesn't really like you doing that, so we were seeing a lot of clicks that led to nothing. So we refined that strategy to the point where we are only placing these ads on Instagram and making these ads much broader in scope, not go listen to the uninvited, but go listen to this really cool summer playlist, right? Appealing to a broader audience. And I know this is really hard to see here, but we're getting like somewhere around a 4% click-through rate and a cost per click of 26 cents and lots of clicks. So that looks good. But again, what we were seeing is this one-to-one correlation between the number of listeners that we're seeing in our Spotify ad metrics and the number of listeners we were getting on our report every day about this playlist. But the big difference was this, the number of likes. We were getting a higher number of likes once we started the Meta ads. So we decided to try something. We cloned the playlist, basically, gave it a little slightly different name, and we aimed that URL for this new list directly to the Meta ads and kept the URL for the previous playlist directly from the Spotify ads. So anything that was happening, any clicks we were getting from the Meta ads are going straight to this list. Any clicks we're getting from the Spotify ad are going to the other list. And whoa, lo and behold, what we're seeing, tons of likes on the list that comes from Meta. So why does this happen? When you click on an ad from Meta and you're not a premium member, you're brought to a screen that shows you something like this, or it shows you that you can preview the list and like the list. And so that's what people do. They'll like the list and then later they'll go back and play it once they're back in the app. And that's exactly what we found. When we look at our listener stats for the week, here's those 2 playlists, okay? And what we got here is 32 listeners for the week on one, 24 listeners for the week on the other, resulting in, about 250 streams for the week, which is great. But this number is interesting, right? Because I said there was a 1-to-1 correlation. This means that all these other listeners are return listeners. These are people that are coming back to listen to the playlist. So this is great because you want the listeners to come back. The whole idea here is to build fans, to build listeners and get more streams so that it exponentially gets higher and higher, and these playlists are working for you on a continual basis. Now, we've been doing this for about $5 a day. We're going to jack it up to $10 a day, and we're going to have the Meta ads and the Spotify ads both go to the single playlist. Okay? Now, I know the big question here is this campaign triggering the Spotify algorithm? Are we seeing more plays from Spotify radio and stuff like that? Yeah, I think we kind of are, but this particular strategy isn't exactly in tune with the one that is made to trigger the algorithm. This is more for building up listeners and new fans, for exposing new fans to your music to get them to listen and save and listen more. All right, I know this was a long one, so I appreciate you listening. Remember to follow if you want more information like this, and hey, give the man's music a listen too. Thanks.